Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Beyond the Building, the evolution of sharing school events, a series created in partnership with the National Federation of State High School Associations. This series brings together educators, experts, and industry leaders to explore how technology has transformed the way schools share experiences, celebrate student achievements, and connect with their communities online. From streaming and social media to copyright, licensing, and the future of digital engagement, we'll examine the opportunities and the responsibilities that come with sharing in an increasingly connected world. I'm Brenna Seaborn Cronin, Executive General Manager of School Music License. We are joined today by Susan LaBarr, who has served as editor of Walton Music since 2014. She's also a composer whose compositions are published by Walton Music, Morningstar Music, and Santa Barbara Music Publishing. Susan has completed commissions for choirs worldwide, most notably Seraphic Fire, New York Polyphony, Atlanta Master Chorale, the University of Pretoria in South Africa, Missouri State University, and the American Choral Directors Association. Susan attended Missouri State University, where she received a Bachelor of Arts in Music and Master of Music in Music Theory. She is a member of the American Choral Directors Association and Chorus America, and Susan joins us today from Springfield, Missouri. Susan, welcome to Beyond the Building.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. And I am so happy to join you from beautiful Springfield, Missouri in the Ozarks.
Susan, when we were thinking about guests for this series, your name came to mind almost immediately. You carry a very unique perspective with both your composer and editorial hats on today. We know that composers deeply value school music programs, and school music programs then bring to life the engraving that's on the page for their audiences. And then licensing exists because music itself has value, right? So, as we begin today, I'm curious, maybe just speaking personally, what does it mean to you when a school chooses your music and then performs it?
Oh, I mean, it means so much. It's why I write music. It's why any composer writes music is to have it performed. And particularly when we're talking about schools, I started in choir in 6th grade at my public school and at Cherokee Middle School. And from then on, then through high school, I was in choir every year, multiple choirs. It was really the first time that my love for music was truly solidified. I had played piano since maybe 3rd grade and loved that too, but it was when I finally started singing with other people, when I started bringing words to life through song, and then therefore those words stayed with me, connected me to the people who were in that room singing together. That's when I really started thinking about doing something in music professionally as a career. I didn't know exactly what it would be at the time, but I knew it was something I wanted in my future. And so now when I see a choir perform one of my works, or I get to go visit that choir and talk with the students, I look at the room and I wonder who is like me in that room, who's performing one of my songs and might be inspired to be a composer or work in music publishing or be a teacher in music. So that means so much that my little song could be maybe a part of somebody's journey in that way.
So that feels really special and really meaningful. You will never know an individual piece of music that you created that has had so much impact on someone.
If you don't have a video on YouTube or a recording on the website at the very least, or a recording on an album, that's available on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever it is, then people really aren't going to know your piece. And I think that YouTube videos especially, I've seen this both as an editor working with other composers' music, but also with my own music. If a really fantastic, high quality YouTube video gets put up where the choir sounds great and it looks good, that can just bring so much promotion to that piece. But I really love the idea that it can also be a model for other choirs. That's kind of another aspect of it, is not just the promotion, and therefore bringing more income to me or to any composer, but it's that another choir could look at the piece and see what they can strive to do, how excellent they can strive to be, and that is a tool for teachers. So it's the way that everybody consumes this entertainment and choral music and all kinds of music.
What's your perspective as a composer, as an editor, on why rights and licensing even exist in the first place?
I feel like we're people like me we're always having to justify, the value of what we're creating. Right now is the World Cup is going on, as everyone knows, and as I'm watching matches and as I'm watching news reports about them and stories about all the things that are going on, there's just music everywhere in all of those experiences, and, the whole stadium is singing a song together, whether it's their national anthem, or in more cases than not, like a country song, a pop song, something that just in the moment they're expressing themselves with music, or music is playing in the background of something. Music is just it's the soundtrack to everything we do in our lives. It adds so much value to our experiences every day. And there's so much value in creative ideas that create the soundtrack that backs up everything that we do, enhances everything that we do. We're kind of trying to catch up all the time with what technology is doing or what the world is doing with our creations. And so I'm really grateful that there are people out there working on licensing issues and helping to educate people about them because it's a piece of, as a composer, my livelihood. And any other composer too. Yes, we get a tiny little bit of money from the sales of our octavos of the sheet music, but when we get a mechanical license or a streaming license or a video is made or music is used in a movie or played on a big radio show, that really enhances our income in a way that allows creators to keep creating. So I think that someone along the lines saw the value in our creations and started making these laws. We wouldn't be able to keep creating without having a livelihood from it. So, super important.
If I could go back and watch a middle school performance or a high school performance, I would in a heartbeat. I would in a heartbeat. There's just
Mm.
something so meaningful and so fun and so special about that time of life and how music shows up in that specific season of life, right? So I'm curious, do creators, and maybe the answer was different 20 years ago than it is now, but do creators want schools sharing performances? And does the right way or wrong way make a difference?
Yeah, I can't speak for everyone, but I think the overwhelming answer would be yes. We want, obviously, schools performing our music. That's why we write music, but we definitely want schools to feel proud of the music they've performed and to feel proud of their performance and to put it out there for the world to see. It's incredible to get to see how someone has interpreted my music, and to see what maybe they took from the page and how they directed their choir to express it. That just artistically is really, really fulfilling because I can't get to every performance, obviously. I think also, obviously, when it's done correctly, like I said before, it adds to my income. And I don't say that lightly. It's so important. It just allows me to keep creating. I think if I never made a penny from this, that'd be okay, but it just gives me so many more opportunities to create more for the people who connect with my compositional voice. But I think also another layer to that is when I see videos online of different choirs, I get a sense of who my market is for the types of music that I'm producing. So I can see what ages are drawn to this kind of piece that I wrote, this voicing, this difficulty. Where in the world or where in our country are people connecting to the message that's in the text? It helps to just kind of guide maybe what I'm thinking about, what I'm gonna write next, or who I'm gonna reach out to and try to get my music to next. So that's a really great thing because composers don't often know who is buying their music, their sheet music, because so much of our music is sold through music stores, music dealers, and they can't share that information. So I don't often know who is buying my music, but when I see a video online, then it's like immediate connection. What do they like? What's important to them? What can I bring to them next?
Do you think that there are any misunderstandings that exist between educators and rights holders?
Well, one that I think exists that I see when I have especially my Walton hat on, is I think sometimes choir schools, they maybe have this misconception that publishers are these big giant conglomerations with a huge staff and no real personal connection, that we're just huge giant companies that take in all this money and that's the end of it. And I I kind of have a question for you. I would assume that with
Yeah.
everything that school music license does, that you're probably also there as a resource for when they have questions about licensing that don't fall into the traditional categories, that there's someone there they can reach out to with those complicated questions to find an answer.
There is very, very, very little gatekeeping in all of
Mhm.
this. We want to get the right information in the appropriate hands so folks can spend more time rehearsing with their ensembles and less time behind the computer with another administrative task.
Yeah, so I think that's huge. And that just shows like school music license isn't this huge giant company where you can't get in contact with a real person. That's how Walton is too. That's how GIA is too. If you call us, you can talk to a real person. It's a little, I think, easier as a consumer, as someone who is performing music, as someone who's paying for licensing, to understand that this really affects real people's lives, not just the composers, but the publishers too, and the hard work that we're putting in every day. We're in many ways a lot like teachers, just trying to get it all done in as limited resources as we can. That's something I really want teachers and schools to know, is that we're real people that want to help and want to make it easier.
So, with that, why is it important to make these systems practical for schools?
My mom was a teacher and my husband is a teacher. So literally my whole life I've lived with a teacher. The last thing that they really need to be worrying about is all the details and the weeds of licensing, because it is really confusing and it can be really overwhelming.
It's funny, like, I've lived with a teacher my whole life. That's a funny thing to say. I'm curious then, is it fair to assume that you believe that educators play a role in sustaining music culture? I think the answer is
Oh,
yes.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. When I go to visit a choir classroom and I see the students pull out their octavos and they have the real copies, or if I happen to glance at a photocopy and it has the license line, that this school bought it for this many copies, and I know they've done the right thing, it really makes me feel valued. And when I think the students see that real copy or that license stamp on the sheet music, I think when students see that, they maybe consciously or subconsciously are learning the right way to do things. And so teachers are just the front line in educating future generations of musicians and teachers to do it the right way. Young people see everything we're doing, and so they might not be able to put words to it, but they could see, like, permission granted to post this video by so and so. I mean, that's just huge to show them what is the right thing to do, what's the right way to do it, and to maybe even explain at some point, "Yeah, when we put this up and we get permission to do it, that gives the composer that you love a little bit of money so they can continue on in their endeavors." Teachers are so important in sustaining that culture of best practice.
What do you think a healthy and reciprocal relationship between schools and creators can look like?
Well, I think a huge piece of that is not being afraid to ask the questions. So I think when a school, a teacher, an administrator has a question about, can I do this? Can I not? To reach out to the composer, to reach out to the publisher, to reach out to the license organization, to ask the question and to be open to what the answer is going to be. So, of course, the easy answer is the best relationship would be that we create the music and schools get the right license to use it in the way they need to. But I think it's deeper than that, that we're just here for each other, that we're in open communication and helping each other whenever we can. Instead of like, "Oh, no, we can't do that." We say, "Let's figure out how we can do that." That's
Exactly.
it's just that mind shift of like, there's probably an answer, so let's figure it out together.
I like that. There's probably an answer. We can figure it out together. Thank you
Mhm.
for that. Lastly, the question that we're asking all of our guests in this series is what advice would you give to a K to 12 school that wanted to embrace online sharing while doing so confidently and responsibly? So maybe this is a school that hasn't done this before. Maybe this is a school that's had a lot of fear about how to move forward with this, right? So I'm really curious to hear from you the confident piece, the responsibly piece. What advice would you offer in that regard?
It adds a lot of value. It connects people. That's really what it's all about. It connects us. It helps us find our similarities when things can feel so divisive and different. It just brings so much value to share, especially what young people are doing. It can really bring a lot of light in a time where things are a little challenging. Just don't be afraid to ask, don't be afraid to communicate, reach out to publishers, reach out to composers, and we can help lead you.
I mean, you said it yourself a few times today, the adding value piece. You, Susan, have added so much value to our series. Thank you so much for being here. I know that your perspective has been incredibly valuable, so thank you for sharing it with our viewers.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.